I want to start by reminding everyone that this is a difficult time, not only for the victims and families of the attack who are now reliving the details, but also the families of the alleged perpetrators. I understand that this is an important breaking story, but I would also encourage you to be sensitive to these victims as well. I want to make it very clear that the Muslim community unequivocally condones the alleged actions of these two individuals. Condemns. My apologies. You can tell I'm very nervous. The Muslim community in London, Ontario has worked hard to combat radicalization with authorities. We have recently hosted a fair on public security that brought in the RCMP, CSIS, Department of Justice, and Canada Border Services Agency into our prayer hall to bridge gaps between our community and our youth. We know from various studies that radicalized youth generally shun mainstream mosques because their ideologies are unwelcome. Current and former representatives from Canadian security agencies have repeatedly affirmed that violent extremism is not the exclusive franchise of any community and that its roots cause are multi-layered and complex. While they may be linked to cut and paste interpretations of particular religious belief system, a closer examination of root causes often points to political objectives, isolation, and alienation, and the search for excitement and meaning common to many youth. The institutions I represent today continue to work hard with the authorities. In closing, the Association of London Muslims has and will continue to unequivocally condemn violent extremism of any kind as this is the opposite to the core teachings of Islam, and we are committed to ensuring safety for our country and fellow citizens, including effective security measures. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now take questions from the media.
Did somebody from CSIS or the RCMP confirm the names of these two boys, mosque officials?
I'm going to refer the questions to Rob.
Sorry, question again?
Did anyone from government, CSIS, the RCMP, confirm the names of these two with you or
No.
So you're going strictly based on news reports?
Right now, at this point, yes.
Rob, why did you have this conference? Why did you get the news?
Well, we wanted to educate. There's multiple things here. I think number one, we were truly saddened by the event. It's a tragedy again. That the victims again have to relive this, and the families have to relive this event that happened a few months ago. We also wanted to, ensure that, our community here understands that, we continue to work with our youth, with our authorities, with our, representatives at a community level to work together to take away the gaps and build bridges, with our youth and with the community at large.
There's been comments today that London is a hotbed for youth extremism in this vein, and I'm just wondering if you've heard that as well. What is your reaction to comments like that?
I haven't heard such thing, but I'm going to actually ask Dr. Munir to come up and answer some of the questions as well.
First, I'd like to comment on the fact that so far the names of the individuals have been only transpiring through media. I just came out of a meeting with the London police chief who confirmed that it hasn't gone outside of the media circles. So the RCMP and CSIS did not come out and confirm their identities. Number two, yes, this morning it was mentioned on one of the radio stations that London is a hotbed for extremism and for terrorist acts. And I would like to say that actions speak for themselves. We have roots in this community that extend for almost 100 years now. And the Muslim community has been a member of this society at large. Our actions speak for themselves. And I am not going here to take a defensive action, but I'd like to say that we know our youth, and we know that they are contributing a great deal to the success of this society. So we have nothing to worry about. Terrorism has no religious identity. Terrorism exists all over the world, and I'd like to bring to our memory the very tragic events that took place in Connecticut not too long ago. When we examined the profile of the person who committed the act, it was a person who was a loner, a person who did not appear to anybody who knew him as a person who would commit such an act. Yet, the most horrible tragedy in the memory of North America, if not the world, took place not too long ago. Therefore, you know, the fact that they happen to be from London, Ontario, has no bearing on the city, on the community itself. But we are coming out to assure everybody that we, as Muslims, are as concerned as everybody else. Not because we are really, you know, directly concerned with the, evolution of this, act.
What happens if someone were to show up here with a radical view?
You see, this place, the London Muslim Mosque, as well as the Islamic Center, as well as all the other places of worship in London, do not welcome any radical views. Everybody comes here to pray and to engage in intellectual discussions that have interfaith dialogue as part of their spirit. And basically, we have announced it over and over again that our doors are open to everybody. We do not worship behind closed doors.
Do you know of any emerging informal mosques or places where people that do have those views may be meeting in London?
Not at all. You know, London is a community. We make about, according to statistics, about maybe 8 to 9% of the population. We know ourselves, we know the people around us, and we are very comfortable that this is a very peaceful community. However, we know now that in the world, globally, these people can be present anywhere without them being detected. And the mosque or the center is no different. Now, if God forbid, if they would appear at any one time anywhere, is it the mosque or the center responsible for their appearance? The answer is absolutely not.
So what do you make of two high school friends? What do you make of these
My analysis, and again, these are allegations, these are things that are still under investigation, but as an educator myself who taught at Western for 10 years, I understand that there are among the youth people who can be dysfunctional, who may have psychological problems, who might have faced some difficulties in their lives. One of the two youth was immediately identified on the CBC report yesterday that, he comes from a home with two parents that are divorced, that have not been with this young man. So because of this dysfunction in the life of this individual, they may go to extremes.
How would they find those extremes in this community?
They will not find them in this community necessarily. Today, with the presence of communication through the internet, through the social media, being in a certain city has no bearing whatsoever. We know that. You can be in Alaska or you can be in anywhere and still communicate within seconds with whomever you want. So the fact that they were from London, I'm not trying to downplay that fact, but I'm saying it has no bearing whatsoever on what happened. Yet as a community from London, Ontario, we felt it was our duty to come with the rest of the community, and we have the representative of the mayor and someone from the office of the city coming together to say that we condemn these things together, not only as a Muslim community, but as members of the community at large. We cannot accept that.
Are you concerned the internet is misrepresenting Islamic beliefs and there is an extremist message out there?
Okay, I'll tell you a fact. You know, go and try to use any search engine on the internet. The websites that are defamatory of Islam, they come right at the top. You know, they have their ways of bringing them at the top, so people may get their information, may get misrepresentation about Islam from those websites, and they will tell you this is Islam. Now, we are asking everybody to come to the source. And again, you know, this morning a statement was made that just basically, you know, it was mentioned that in every Friday sermon at every mosque in Canada, the imam starts by a prayer that invokes the displeasure of God on non-believers. I mean, I've been, you know, and I have my colleague who is the acting imam of the London Muslim Mosque. I can just say everybody is welcome to come as many Fridays as you want and hear unannounced, so that, you know, we will not know that there's anybody. And I can tell you that every Friday there are people from other faith traditions attending at the mosque and at the center. And we do not start with that. On the contrary, we stress the commonalities that exist among people of faith. And when something like this happens that puts a religious identity on a terrorist attack, we should all come together to denounce that and say that faith and terrorism is an oxymoron. They do not exist together.
Dr. Hassan, there seems to be a little more known about one gentleman than the other. We know the one was a Orthodox but converted. The other gentleman, there's not a lot known. Do you know his family, any relatives that might have known?
I asked everybody I could ask since last night. Nobody seems to know the family. But I asked the police chief this morning. He said, yes, their investigation confirmed that both families do live in London. Do we know them? My answer is no. And here are my colleagues. I don't think any one of them knows the family of the other young man who was mentioned in the report.
So when you spoke to the police chief, they confirmed that the families lived in London, but they did not confirm that the two boys were associated with the attack?
They said, this is the policy of London Police Services Board, that if the investigation is carried by RCMP and CSIS, they cannot interfere or mention anything. So that's why, you know, they are not really, you know, talking about any reports.
So when you heard the names of the reports, did it bring anything to mind, any behavior, individuals themselves?
No, other than that one of the names sounded Arabic, we did not know of who those people were. That's all that we could recognize, that one of them sounded Greek, the other sounded Arabic, but other than that, we really did not know anything more.
There'd be concerns in other cities, especially Toronto, about young people either grown up as Muslims or converted, becoming radicalized, and I think some of the mosques there have sort of made an effort to try to identify, you know, young people sort of heading off in the wrong direction. Has that ever been a concern in the community?
Now, I'd like to remind us in the statement that was read by Mr. Rabi Osman that CSIS and the RCMP determined through research that terrorism is a very complex phenomenon and that it is not due to religious association or association with any you know, thought system. And here I'd like to say that a person who is searching for some functionality in his life has discovered Islam. Now we say that, did Islam contribute to that terrorism? The answer is absolutely not, because he was basically escaping from his reality, from his everyday life, And I'm not prepared to comment any further because I don't know the person. I'm just speaking from an abstract perspective that it could happen that a person who's searching for something that is a ghost in front of him may resort to these things, but may appear it's because he converted that look what happened. This association is not right.
But I guess what I was asking is, in other communities there have been some concerns about this idea of young people becoming radicalized, and I think some imams have made an effort to try to sort of keep an eye out for kids who turn this direction. I just wondering, has that ever been a concern here?
But equally true are people who have been radicalized by other faith traditions.
Right, and we would probably ask a priest or a minister, did you notice anything in your congregation that sent off alarm bells? And has anything been noticed here?
The answer is absolutely not.
One more question.
Absolutely not.
You said you talked to the Colonial Police and they can't get involved or comment.
No.
What about the RCCs? Have they?
I did not talk to them. I did not talk to them. Nor did they talk to me or anyone for that matter. No.
What are people telling you in your faith community? What are they saying to you?
The news came out last night. We still did not have a chance to, talk to everybody.
You haven't had any phone calls or emails that are saying I have concerns about this? Or
See, the concern, I'll tell you the concern. The concern is that every time something like this happens or reaches the airwaves or, comes to the media, the outcry in the community is negatively reflected on our youth. And their concern now is the backlash. How am I going to be viewed in the community around me? This association between religion and what happened a couple of months ago is not right, and probably our presence, our coming out today is twofold. First of all is to denounce that as members of the community at large, and number two, to express our concern that our community, members of our community, deserve to continue living peacefully, away from anxiety, away from concern that I may apply to a job and may be discriminated against because the people are not comfortable with me. We don't want to continue making this association because members of the Muslim community, Canadian Muslim community, are as any other members of any other community. We want to stress that. And we have to work together to combat global phenomena that are affecting all of us, not only Muslims or any sector of the community, but all of us. That's the message that we want to send to everybody.
I've got
Okay,
statements for everyone.
Have you heard any backlash yet? I'm sorry.
No,
Has there been any problems?
no. I hope I don't hear anything.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming today. I have statements here available from us.